Hey everyone, and thanks for jumping back into the cryptoverse. Today we have another special guest here. We have Alessio Rastani. He is a chart analyst and trader. You can go find more about him at leadingtrader.com. He also has his own YouTube channel. We'll leave links to both of those down in the description below. And he is here today to give us his outlook on Bitcoin. So Alessio, it's a pleasure to have you here. Welcome to the show.
Hey Ben, thanks very much. Good to talk with you, and thanks for having me on your show. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course, no problem. So would you?
So did you want to talk about Bitcoin?
Yeah. So basically, there's so many theories out there and whatnot about what's going on with Bitcoin, and I just want to get your what you think is going on in the markets and why you think the way you do and where you think Bitcoin is headed.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure, Ben, if you are familiar with Elliott wave theory yourself. I'm sure you've either used it or heard of it at some point. Maybe your viewers have. Let me say that often when we mention Elliott wave theory, people have a kind of a binary reaction to it. Some people hate it, some people like it. I used to hate Elliott wave theory probably more than 7 years ago, probably more 7-8 years ago. And I think it's because like most people, I had a wrong idea about what Elliott wave theory actually is. A lot of people don't like it because they think it's subjective, which I think is actually untrue. There are ways you can make Elliott wave theory objective, or more, shall we say, more principled, so it doesn't lend itself to so many. I think the biggest objection people have to Elliott wave theory is that, oh well, anybody can have a subjective interpretation of the chart. You put two people's interpretation, and everyone is going to have a different interpretation. To some extent, that's true. There is subjectivity in Elliott wave theory, but I would say there's subjectivity in any chart analysis. I think people often forget that you put any chart up, forget Elliott waves. You put any chart up, people can have multiple interpretations of the chart. Some people think it's an uptrend, some people think it's a correction, or whatever. My point is that actually, I think it's wrong to think that Elliott wave theory is always subjective. It's not true. The reason why I use Elliott wave theory, quite simply, is because it's the only method of analysis that gives you context. It gives you an idea where you are in the big picture. It's all very well looking at a chart. Okay, so what does it tell me? Where am I in the big picture? What is likely? It gives you an idea what to anticipate next in the big picture, in the grand scheme of things. If you show the second chart there, we'll come back to this Bitcoin chart in a few minutes. I'll talk about this in a few minutes. Yeah, let's go to the next one. So this is the standard Elliott wave model. This one, yeah. Elliott wave theory simply says that markets trend, or they subdivide into 5 waves in the direction of trend. So when they're trending, they subdivide in 5 waves. But when they're correcting, when they're going against the trend, they subdivide in 3 waves. Okay, 5 waves up and then 3-wave correction called an ABC. Okay. Now, notice those corrections, the wave 2 and 4, are subdivided into ABC corrective patterns there. Now, let's go back to that Bitcoin chart there for a moment. A lot of people thought, now here's one way Elliott wave theory is useful. Many people thought that the crash back in April to June was a bear market. But I disagreed with that. And as you know yourself, Ben, the reason why it wasn't a bear market, in my humble opinion, is simply because it didn't qualify as a bear market, because in my view, it was a wave 4 correction. Wave 4 correction within that 5-wave pattern, within that 5-wave bull market to take us towards the 100,000 level. And also another reason why I didn't think the crash in April to June was a bear market was because it didn't break market structure. It didn't break that key support at 29,000. Okay, and it actually was a false break of 30,000. Anyway, so the bottom line is, if we go back, if you look at this chart now on your chart, Ben. So let's review this. This is a chart of Bitcoin from 2011, 2012, all the way to the current situation, approximately where we're at right now. Now, notice there are 2 kinds of wave counts: the red wave counts and the white wave counts. So the red counts are the bigger waves, the major waves. The white wave counts, the white numbers, are the smaller waves, the subwaves, the minor waves. And the magenta are the corrective waves. Put simply, Ben, my analysis simply is, according to Elliott wave theory, and again, I know some people are going to say, well, you're just putting a bunch of numbers on a chart arbitrarily. Not at all. Elliott wave theory requires certain rules and principles as to where these wave counts go. You just can't arbitrarily, willy-nilly put these numbers on a chart. That's not how it works.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, as you can see, from 2011, 2012, we had 5 waves up in a large wave 1, a bigger wave 1. That was a major bull market from 2011, 2012, all the way to 2013. You remember that bull market yourself, Ben?
Yeah,
That
I mean,
first
I
one?
didn't have any money invested at the time, but I was following.
Me neither.
Yeah, I was following it loosely because I was studying cryptography in my undergrad.
Yeah, that's right. I do remember what happened. I think I remember what happened after 2013, 2014, probably a lot more, because then we had a massive drop, a correction there on Bitcoin. That was actually the wave 2, the ABC wave 2, which from 2013, 2015 to the beginning of 2015, I should say, that was the wave 2. And then we started the major bull market from 2015 to 2017. You can see that in the five waves up in the wave 3 there. Again, from 2015, 2017, that took Bitcoin from about $100 approximately to nearly $20,000. I'm sure you remember that particular bull market.
Yeah, of
Were you
course.
into that at the time?
Yeah, I was. I was in. Yeah.
Yeah. And that, of course, was the major bull market, which ended in 2017. Then we started a major bear market, which essentially drove Bitcoin down by nearly 89%, which we can see on this logarithmic chart. That was essentially the wave 4, an ABC correction wave 4, ended at the end of 2018. And essentially from the beginning of 2019 or end of 2018, we started the wave 5. So when wave 4, the red wave 4, the larger wave 4, when that completed in 2018, then we started the major, bigger wave 5. And you can see where we're at right now. We'll put it this way. The crash of last year, the crash of 2020, was the C wave of that correction, of wave 2 correction, as you can see right there. So that was the C wave. The crash of March 2020 was the C wave of wave 2. That was last year. And then we began the wave 3. It was something I was expecting last year. I was quite bullish on Bitcoin last year. It took us from over 10,000 and eventually to the 60,000 levels, just nearly over 50,000, 60,000 levels. And then this recent crash from April to June, that was the wave 4. That was also something I was anticipating. And then we started this next wave. I think basically where we're at right now, we're in this wave 5, the smaller wave 5 of a bigger wave 5, as you can see there.
Right.
And I think this bigger wave 5 is going to take us eventually to 100,000, potentially by next year, if not sooner. But in any case, but put it this way, I think we are at right now we're in a smaller wave 3 of a slightly larger wave 5 of a larger wave 5. If that makes any sense. If you want to show the third chart, you have there, the third one. Well, that's the one before. Okay. Yeah. Let's go to the one. Yeah. So if we think about the wave 4 correction completing, we've essentially started the blue wave 3 now. At the beginning of the blue wave 3, at the very start of that,
So this
in
one
my
right
opinion.
here?
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. I think we're at the beginning of that. And I think this wave 5 of this larger wave 5 is going to eventually take us to 100,000. Going back to the Bitcoin chart again, the beginning. So I think as long as Bitcoin remains above the September lows, this is my higher probability wave count. Is it a certainty? Is it a guarantee? No, nothing in chart analysis or in the markets is a guarantee, as I'm sure you know, as I'm sure everybody knows. Anything is possible. But I think from a probability perspective, as long as Bitcoin remains above the September lows, or I would say as long as it remains above the June, July lows, as long as it remains above that, then this is a higher probability wave count for me for the larger wave 5 move towards 100,000. And again, by next year. And as I'm sure you know, Ben, as I'm sure anybody was watching this video, once we complete the 5 waves, guess what we're going to expect next?
An ABC correction?
Exactly, a major ABC correction. And let me say this, that's going to happen when 2 or 3 things happen, apart from the wave counts. You're going to see euphoria to the point where you're never going to believe. Again, markets don't usually top when everyone is bearish, or when even 50% of people are bearish. You're going to see so many videos on how to get rich on Bitcoin, more than we've had so far. You're going to see euphoria, extremes in sentiment, over bullish. Everybody becomes a bull. You'll hardly find any bears. this is not now, by the way. This is potentially maybe next year when Bitcoin eventually reaches. Yeah, when the wave, you'll know when we're in wave 5, when we've exceeded those levels of extreme optimism. And all kinds of, you're going to see a lot of people claiming all kinds of things, $1 million on Bitcoin, 2 million, 5 million, all kinds of things on Bitcoin by that time. So that's the point where potentially I'll be getting cautiously pessimistic, and essentially that's the point where I'll be looking to prepare for that major bear market, the major correction. And that bear market will be devastating. Just let me say, that bear market, put it this way, and not something else, man. Sorry, I apologize for talking so much, but I think that bear market potentially will occur about the same time when the stock market begins a bear market. I think that the correlation between the two is still there.
Yeah, it's interesting because I completely understand what you're saying with respect to, everyone needs to be a bull for that phase to happen, because certainly in my experience right now, I'm very bullish, but I know a lot of people are bearish right now. And they look at what's going on right now as a dead cat bounce, and I personally think there's a lot of evidence to go against that theory, and that we are as you show in a wave 5. I guess I have a question really quick on this.
Yeah, sure.
So when you said we're currently in the beginning of wave 3 within this one right here, this is where you think we currently are. So you think there's a decent possibility that we have a 3 to 4 pullback here before going into the final parabolic move?
Let me say, I don't think that 3 to 4. I don't think that wave 4 will come until we reach significantly higher levels.
Right.
I think probably after we take out the all-time highs of Bitcoin. All-time highs of Bitcoin were in April. I think that was 64,000 approximately. Yeah. I think that wave 4 pullback will come after we reach all-time highs. Okay. So then potentially we'll have a pullback, and then we'll go back up for a major wave 5 up. And then that could take some time. It could take some time for this wave 5 of 5 to complete, maybe perhaps by the end of next year, maybe even going to 2023. We'll have to see about that. And again, this is my higher probability wave count only as long as it remain above the September lows, and I would say also above the June-July lows. As long as it remain above those two levels, this is my higher probability wave count. I think it's less likely that we fall below the June-July lows. However, if it's a big if, that if we fall below the September lows, that still wouldn't really change the wave count if we fall below the September lows. It would just mean a slightly different kind of correction.
Right, yeah, it's slightly different. But even then, I know you talk about the 21-week EMA a lot, right, in terms of a key area. And something I actually looked at yesterday is, I also look at the 20-week SMA, look at both of them. But one thing I've noticed is that anytime we've held support on that line, we've never actually gone below that price ever again, which is, and so I would say there's actually a fairly strong reason to believe we will. I mean, of course, there's no certainties, as you say, but I have reason to believe we may never go below those levels, and the 29K especially should remain intact.
I would agree with that. I would agree with you on that. I did some analysis of this, as a matter of fact, as well. I pulled out charts of Bitcoin going all the way from the beginning, and you're right. Usually when you see a pullback to the 21 EMA, and then holding that level and then moving away from it like we've done recently,
right? Yeah,
usually we see follow through higher. It's very unusual for them to suddenly see a relapse back below the 21 average.
It's never happened. It's never happened.
Very unusual.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always a first time, sure, but I think from a probability perspective, as you say, it's never happened. Yeah, I would say the odds are in favor of more upside potential, and another reason why we might see upside potential by the end of the year is because of seasonality. Right. So I'm actually going to make a video on this separately in the next few weeks. But seasonality of Bitcoin from the end of October to December is usually very strong. Right. It's what's called a Halloween effect. Halloween effect simply means that from the end of October, 31st of October, Halloween, to the end of the year, New Year's Eve, Bitcoin and the stock markets are usually going to a very bullish phase. Now, my analysis also shows that's only if the stock market and Bitcoin remain above the 200 moving average. Okay, so as long as Bitcoin remains above its 200 moving average, seasonality favors upside potential by the end of this year.
Right. I mean, and I mean that even played out last year. I mean, a lot of the upside came in the fourth quarter. There still was more
That's right.
upside going into the next year, but actually a lot of it
Yeah.
happened in Q4.
Yeah, I think there was one exception to the rule on this seasonality. Seasonality was a couple of exceptions to the rule. That was in, I think we can see this on this chart. That was in end of 2018. I think that was the year in 2018 Bitcoin actually dropped quite significantly between Halloween and December 31st.
Right.
But here, and I know people are going to say, well, what about that period? But here's the thing. In 2018, Bitcoin was below its 200 daily moving average.
Right.
So that's why I said the 200 daily moving average. Yeah, well done. Thank you. So in 2018, Bitcoin was below its 200 daily moving average. So the odds did not favor a good seasonal bullish period from October to New Year's Eve. The same goes in 2014, by the way, Ben. Yeah, well done. Thank you. In that period, also, Bitcoin was below its 200 daily moving average. So we saw downside potential. But what I'm saying is my research shows that when Bitcoin is above its 200 daily moving average, seasonality is bullish, usually between Halloween, October 31st, and the end of the year.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. One more question before I let you go here. Any thoughts on Ethereum? I know we're talking about Bitcoin, but obviously Ethereum is strongly tied to Bitcoin's movements as well. What do you think about Ethereum?
Yeah, Ethereum, I do follow it, probably not as closely as I should, but I do look at it. Here's what I would say. I recently put out a video. I have a good friend, Manuel Bly of the DAO Theory. He did some research on Ethereum and Bitcoin correlation. Mm-hmm. And he found that when Ethereum confirms the breakouts in Bitcoin, the odds increase in Bitcoin's and Ethereum's favor. So, for example, right now, we saw it in the last few weeks. Recently, we saw Bitcoin taking out its September highs. Now, Bitcoin hasn't taken out the all-time highs yet, but Bitcoin has taken out the September highs. Ethereum did not take out the September highs as far as we're making it. Right now, as we're talking, I think as I'm talking right now, we haven't taken out the September highs yet either. Now, once Ethereum does take out the September highs, then we have confirmation. That means Ethereum is confirming the breakout with
Bitcoin.
Yeah, with Bitcoin. Yeah. So that essentially means that the odds are moving in favor of a bullish period for Ethereum. There, yeah. Okay. Sorry, for Ethereum and Bitcoin. So we haven't got a confirmation just yet. Manuel Bly says that it's a good idea to combine both to get a better probability, to get a slightly better probability.
Okay.
And also, I would say Ethereum targets. If Bitcoin is going to go to 100,000, then Ethereum targets could be anything from. I'm guessing from not guessing. Sorry, but I think if I remember correctly, it was 6,250. To 7,800 to potentially, long-term potential targets on Ethereum could be 12,000, right. 12,500, I think is what it was. Yeah, I'm being conservative actually because I had slightly even more aggressive targets on that, but that's what I have at the moment.
No, I think that makes a lot of, and I imagine too that the potential upside will also be somewhat dependent on how long it takes us. If it extends until say Q1, maybe not as high, but if it goes until say the end of next year or something, then you have a lot more time to kind of build up. Alessio, it was a pleasure having you on. I know the audience is going to love hearing your thoughts here on Elliot waves with Bitcoin, and then the brief discussion of Ethereum. If you're watching this video, I would strongly recommend you go check out Alessio's YouTube channel. I will leave it in the description below. I'll also leave a link to his website as well. I have nothing but the highest praise for Alessio, and I've actually watched him a lot over the years. In fact,
thank you.
Yeah, I have.
That's very kind of you,
a lot
man.
over the years.
Thanks for watching.
I do appreciate your channel, and I appreciate your very down-to-earth approach that you provide to everyone. So, Alessio, again, it was a pleasure having you on. Hopefully, we'll have you on again in the future.
Thanks, man. The pleasure is all mine, and really appreciate you having me on. Thanks so much indeed.
All right. Have a good day. Bye.
Thanks a lot. Cheers, Ben. Much appreciate that.